Why, hello, everyone. This is the newest episode of Cosmere Chronicles, the show where we follow two first-time readers and chronicle. No, you're doing it wrong. This is Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast where we follow two first-time readers to the Cosmere, Justin and Sheeta, and we chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we'll be covering Elantris Chapters 45 and 54. And now, we'll throw it over to the host of Cosmic Chronicles. This is Joe! Thank you, Joe. Yep, and as he said, and as you heard and shit, this is Cosmere Chronicles, also known as C2 for short. Not to be confused with the green-haired waifu some of you out there may have. And once again, this week, we are joined by Sheeta and Justin. How are you two doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Going like it's flowing.
And how will you be doing tomorrow?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Hopefully good.
I'll be doing well as well.
Right. And we have a special guest today. We have Viggo Mortensen on the podcast. That's what I'd want to say, but I have no idea how to contact Viggo Mortensen. Or if I did have a way to contact him, if he even would want to come on the podcast.
I'm absolutely sure he would if you could just get through his assholey agent.
You know, I was excited for a second. I was like, we do? You got me.
Yeah, because he just got cast as Raoden, Sheeta, so he's on the podcast for that.
Raoden. Oh, he would be a good Raoden. Oh, maybe next week.
Yeah, every week I'm going to be waiting for that, Joe.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
That's going to be our Viggo Mortensen update every week. See how well he's...
Yes. How close did we get to getting him this time?
But, so anyways, so this week we finished up part 2 of Elantris. So just quickly, how did you two enjoy these chapters?
I feel like every part is completely different than the part before, so I think this section is one of those where we completely take a different turn, or a new element is added, I should say.
Yeah, every time I think I know exactly where the story is going, some totally random new element I didn't expect just pops in. So it keeps me on my toes. Also feels like we're, spiraling faster and faster towards an inevitable climax of some sort.
Yeah. Like every time we add another turn. Yeah. Very exciting.
Yeah, one thing I did feel, with my whole rereading it now is I feel like the whole Raoden meeting Sarene moment, that was the real turning point in the book. Because the first half, it's all going, a little bit slower and stuff. Once they meet to Elantris for that first time, everything seemed to speed up right after that. A lot of shit started hitting the fan. Yeah, it is interesting hearing the two of you talk, come up with ideas and stuff, because you're always, both of you keep having ideas where you get, part of it correct. All right, I think this is going to happen. That's partially correct. But then it's also get it wrong. It's like you get part. It's just like, yep, Justin was correct in, well, yeah, I think that he's going to, poison Sarene, give her the Shaod reasoning, so that way he can kill her. But nope, he had a completely different reason why he poisoned her.
Mm-hmm. Which I believe Sheeta was saying was her logic of what was going to happen.
Oh, yep.
Yep.
So if we just cut half of our theories off and glue them together,
We can write the whole book.
Yeah. But it's good to be predicting some things and not others, because that just means that what's happening has a logical step-by-step basis, but it's not so predictable that it's just completely obvious.
Yeah. It's still very satisfying because of that.
So, Sheeta, it's time for you to recap last week's podcast episode in those chapters.
All right. 28 through 35?
Whatever went up.
Higher than that. We started at 45.
It was 36 through 44.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. All right. We begin with Hrathen being healed from his fake sickness, and then going back home and sending out someone to poison someone else. Raoden is still shaken by his magic sickness, and we found out that he was glowing. And then Sarene and the guys go through with the wedding. She finds out that she has fallen to the shade, and Sarene gets taken into Elantris. Hrathen is sad nobody cared when he got the shade. Sarene goes into Elantris, and Raoden shows her all of Elantris, and they have a cute part of your world, or a whole new world part where they go on a date. Then Hrathen is back on top, feeling pretty good. Raoden and Sarene fall more in love. Sarene tells Raoden that his dad is dead or killed himself. And then Telrii is king.
Right. Good job. This is a good
get
portion to
into
put at the beginning of a podcast. Yes, you can have your point of inspiration.
Woohoo!
But let's dive into our chapters for the week, since we had 10 of them. As I said, a lot of short ones. So we will start off with chapter 45, which is a Hrathen chapter. And it begins with Hrathen. He's on the top of the Elantris wall, and he's looking at the hole that Raoden and Galladon had made when they broke through. Hrathen can tell that some Elantrians had come out of that hole a couple times, but he just simply shrugs it off. It doesn't matter to him if some Elantrians get out, because they can't go into K without easily being found. He also doesn't want people to know about them getting out, because he doesn't want the focus to be on the city of Elantris.
After reading later chapters, it's interesting to see those kinds of little things that you don't think about that are actually horrible mistakes he's making.
Yeah, it's like foreshadowing a little bit.
You notice a lot of that with Hrathen. There's no way he could guess half the stuff that's happening. Everything he can control, he tries to control, and almost anything he thinks, oh, I don't need to focus on that. That's what winds up biting him at the ass.
Little does he know that something really you would never guess is going to happen.
There's no reason to guess it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hrathen, he thinks about Telrii, and he believes that Telrii's going to demand even more money in order to convert to Shu-Dereth. Hrathen doesn't care, because Telrii doesn't understand that he's not going to wind up having power. Because with the whole system of the Derethi, Telrii's going to be underneath, like the priests and the Yorns and stuff. So while he will be king, it's just going to be pretty much in name alone. He's not going to have the real power like, the religion has. And, even though Telrii won't be a true believer and he'll just convert because he wants power, Hrathen will still use him. And then eventually Telrii's kids, they will be raised Derethi, and they will likely be true believers. So you will eventually have believers grown. And while up on the wall, Hrathen also looks down into Elantris, and he hopes to find Sarene. He knows that it was a risk to send her into Elantris, but he doesn't want her to die in there. He needs her to live. And then a Seon named Dio comes up to Hrathen, and it connects him to Eventio. And Eventio asks Hrathen to heal Sarene, just like how he himself had been healed. Hrathen tells him that the faithless will receive heals from Yad. Eventio says that if Sarene returns safely from the city, then he will convert to Shu-Dereth. Hrathen says that he will see if he can encourage Yadith to cure Sarene. And he ends the call, and it appears that Hrathen will be able to hand Wyrn not one, but 2 heathen nations.
Man, everything's coming up Hrathen, huh?
Yeah, sure looks like it.
He sure seems to think it is.
You should know better. Every time he thinks that.
I feel like the more in control Hrathen feels, the more things are actually spiraling horribly for him. I'm starting to think this book has it out for Hrathen, honestly.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel bad for him.
Starting to suspect he's not the protagonist like I was hoping.
Is it out for Hrathen? Do you need to be reminded of Sarene's 2 weddings?
Hey, she dodged a bullet with those. Everything's going to work out well for her in the end. I don't think the same for Hrathen. I didn't expect that the king would fold so easily about getting his daughter back, so I thought it was interesting that they had the line in where he's like, yeah, it was inevitable anyways, to show that it's not just for Sarene, it's that once the city falls, he doesn't want, his people to be slaughtered in warfare.
I can't believe that. I was like, Daddy, no, don't do that.
Well, I think, if I remember correctly, it was brought up earlier in the book, too, saying that, if Arelon falls, then Teo would wind up just probably surrendering anyways.
I think I remember that, yeah.
Them against everyone else. All right. Anything else you two want to bring up with this short chapter?
Mm.
Am I ever going to
yeah.
get a long Hrathen chapter again? That's all.
My Sarene and Raoden ship has been rekindled after this small chapter. He's there on the wall scanning for Sarene. I was like, woohoo!
Yeah.
It's back.
Yeah. Shada, with what's left of the book, do you really see that happening in any way?
Yeah. That's going to
I
be the
guess
climax when he confesses.
all you need is one moment where he lets her go instead of what he's supposed to do, and that would be all you need, right?
Justin, don't spoil it for me.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
That's totally was going to be, if you love her, let her go moment.
That's not what I said, but okay.
Does it really count as a ship if Sarene clearly has no feelings for him?
She doesn't have no feelings. She has something. She's always thinking about him.
Yeah, disgust, repulsion, hatred, contempt.
There's a fine line that can be easily erased between love and hatred.
Especially since she has Raoden, I really don't think that she's gonna look twice at Hrathen.
Yeah, Shada, she just met a rotted zombie that she's falling in love with. And you think she, would ever have feelings for Hrathen if she didn't already?
She just hasn't gotten to know him as well, that's all. If she was trapped with him for a bit, she might, she seems kind of like
for sure.
Love starved and romance starved. Like, I think she'll she's never been in love before, so it's gonna happen.
I will bet you $50 billion that they do not fall in love and wind up together, Shada. Well, Shida herself just said they're not going to wind up together because Hrathen's going to let her go.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to end up not going to end up together, but it will be a romance for the times.
Okay. I'll let you have it.
Like Bella and Jacob.
I've never read Twilight, so I can only go off of what my sister said.
Team Hrathen.
I'm not going to comment on any of this.
I'm going to make that shirt. I will make that t-shirt. Team Hrathen
that's
and
going to be
Team
a big
Raoden.
seller. With that one insane fangirl who's been screaming along with you on this the whole time while listening.
But where is she? Let me be her best friend.
All right, so let's just move on to 46 so we can get rid of this love stuff with Hrathen and move on to love stuff with Raoden. But, all right, I guess the beginning does not start with love because it starts with Raoden thinking about his father. And he knows that he was... And, Raoden, he knows that Iden was a bad person and that he was to blame for people suffering. But Raoden still feels the pain of loss. He tries to think of the Iden of his childhood, who seemed to be a man of honor and strength. And the only two things that helped him forget the loss were Sarene and the Aons. Right, so Raoden and Sarene, they're in the library. Sarene is studying and Raoden is drawing Aons. And that's when Galladin enters and talks about how the Yorn has been on top of the wall praying for them all to be healed. Maybe not all. And Sarene asks Raoden why he keeps drawing the same Aon, and he tells her it helps him think. And he's been thinking about AonDor, and he understands most of the theory now, but doesn't seem any closer to understanding what is blocking the door. He feels like the Aons have changed, so now the old patterns are slightly wrong. And Sarene asks if it has something to do with the land. She says that when she was a little girl, she learned the Aons, and she was taught that you begin every Aon with a picture of Arelon. There's a line at the top for the coast, a curved line on the side for the mountains, and a dot in the middle for Lake Alone. Raoden, when he hears this, he mentions that the Elantrians claim there was a connection between the Aons and Arelon, but he didn't think that they actually represented the land. Galladin grabs a map, and it matches up perfectly with the Aon. If you look at the map of Arelon, you can kind of see it, the spot, and And then this is also when Galladin notices something strange with Sarene. Her blotches are purpling and going away. Raoden finally puts it together and realizes that Sarene was never an Elantrian. We jump a little bit, and Raoden is bringing Sarene to the Elantris gates. He explains that Hrathen probably has a way to fake the Sheod, and has done it with both himself and Sarene. Refuses to. Raoden tells her that this is Elantris. Nobody wants to be here. but Sarene still refuses to leave. So Raoden decides to try to be mean and tell her that they cannot waste food on her, but she just calls bullshit on that. Raoden is truthful and tells her that they will soon run out of food unless someone on the outside can get them more supplies. The two hug closely, and Raoden tells Sarene that Irulan needs her. If there is a Fjordell sympathizer on the throne, then there is not much time left for Elantris. The Derethi priest will destroy Elantris. Things are wrong in Irulan, and she is the only one he can trust to fix them. Sarene tells him that she will return. Then men come and pull the two apart and take Sarene out of Elantris. And Hrathen just kind of looks at Raoden but leaves without speaking.
This part
And
was
that's
so
that
dramatic.
chapter.
So romantic.
Yeah, this is when it started to feel like, they were opening up about some of their feelings with each other, even though they didn't say anything.
Yep, and you learned, like I said, you learned about the Aeons, about how it matched the map.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I didn't expect anything like that. Like, I thought there'd be some big secret thing they'd learn. I didn't know it would be something that her childhood, studies and learning would tell her.
Is this the first time Hrathen and Raoden have an interaction?
If you can really call it an interaction, they just look
It
at
was
They locked
definitely-
eyes.
It was definitely written to be a pretty cool moment because he shoves them. They look at each other for a second, I like that quite a bit.
Lock eyes. Oh, man, I hope they fight.
I think in this chapter, I just really like the point where Raoden tried to be mean and push Sarene away, but she just immediately calls bullshit. Just such
Yeah,
a common trope you see all the time in sort of romance stuff. It's like, or just try to push him away because you think it's better for them. And they're like, oh, he doesn't like me anymore, and they leave.
Like, go on, get. No, who needs you? Yeah.
But here she can just tell, no, stop it.
Arene's really fallen for Raoden. She wants to stay there with him.
Well, she's got nothing out there.
She's got all the people that are relying on her. But she
she's
just didn't even.
cripplingly lonely out there.
That's what I mean. But well, that's true too. But she didn't even think about any of the stuff that she said she cared about. She just wanted to stay with him.
Well, no way.
She's
What's she
kinda-
supposed to do out there in her mind, It's over, right?
Well, you have more power out there than in Elantris.
Yeah.
Just like Raoden was saying.
You're saying she became kind of a in-love schoolgirl all of a sudden?
Yeah. Just kind of forgot all her things that she was working on and valued, politics and things.
Love will do that to you. Corny, but true.
I know this chapter was one thing when they got rid of the because I was reading about how the whole scene with her leaving was changed a little bit from the and stuff they have in there with Raoden's crazy brother and stuff, because she believed that was Raoden having an army out there. So you have Raoden telling her, "Yep, go out there. That's your husband out there. You have to go." And then she, losing the person she believes is her husband, she wants to stay in Elantris with Spirit, who she has fallen in love with.
That would have been a very different story.
Yeah. So overall, even Brand Sanders says that with getting Mad Prince, you do lose some good character moments like that were really strong. But for the overall book, it's much better not to just throw in this character, 3/4 of the way into the book.
Yeah, I do agree. What do you mean? They throw in a new character 3/4 of the way through in a chapter or two. Best new character in the series.
I like them.
Anything else in this chapter you wanted to go over?
No, I think I said the part I wanted.
Right. On to 47. So, Sarene, she's being taken out of Elantris, and she thinks about how 5 days ago she had entered Elantris and wished, prayed, and begged Domai to heal her. Now that she is out of the city, she finds herself craving to return to damnation as long as Spirit was there.
Oh, she felt hard.
All she's ever wanted, right?
Yeah, but I can't believe she feels so hard for him, and he's like a ghoul.
Hey, you meet the right ghoul, you'll fall for him.
That's true.
Like Hancock.
Hmm?
Somebody out there knows what I'm saying.
Fallout?
Yeah.
So then Hrathen, he's talking to Sarene about how Yadith had healed her. He also tells her that her father has converted, but she doesn't believe this. Hrathen tells her to convert, but she says that she'll die first. Hrathen says he brought her back and steps towards her, but suddenly AonDor's sword is at his throat. Kain grabs Sarene in a hug and picks her up, and then Hrathen easily disarms AonDor and leaves.
That part was described so funny. Leans back, kicks him in the hand. I'm like, man, you really forget what a freaking ballerina Hrathen is till he starts moving around.
Yorn Fu, Justin.
Yeah.
Because nothing else is like it. Like flipping around with his cape and everything.
Yeah.
It just seems so dramatic. Like directed by Zack Snyder dramatic.
Zack Snyder, half the thing would be slow motion.
That
Yeah.
part definitely would be.
Mm-hmm. How else are we gonna enjoy his cape flowing?
Oh god, no.
So Sarene tells Kain that they need to get their allies together right away. So then they head to Kain's place and Sarene eats a lot of food. Sarene mentions that there wasn't much food in Elantris. Lukel says that he was surprised there was any since Elantrians like to eat. Kain adds in that they don't need to eat so they can afford to stockpile food. And Sarene wonders how they know so much about Elantrians.
That is sus. I didn't like that part.
So then Shuden and Royal arrive, and AonDor gives Sarene a blonde wig. And, she's kind of sad that they didn't save her own hair that came off with the veil, but they mention that when somebody gets put into Elantris, all their possessions are burned.
Alright, but I just imagined that Hrathen had her hair collected and it's sitting in his room right now.
What is wrong with you?
Collect that hair for me. And then it's on a little shrine for Sarene. This is a creepy little weirdo.
So Sarene asks where Ahon is. And they say that they sent him to Telrii's palace to make an overture to him. They will have to work with him, so they might as well see what cooperation they can expect. Sarene doesn't expect any leniency from Telrii, so they need to take action against him. Royal says that this is different than what they did before. They opposed Aoden, but did not plan to remove him. Sarene says that Telrii will be worse than Aoden. Alright, Shuden suggests they sleep on it, because this is a matter that should not be entered into without careful meditation. Sarene agrees and the lords leave. And Royal, he talks to Sarene and he says that there's no reason to continue their betrothal after, with everything going on. And Sarene agrees.
Yeah, but he's all sad about it.
Yeah, that was really sweet. He was kind of looking forward to it. That was cute.
Very funny and interesting to me that all the guys are in love with her, like Shida was hoping, just not explicitly, like not necessarily in love, but they can't help but, have those masculine feelings towards her of wanting to help her and support her and take care of her. Like when they all show up with the swords a little bit ago.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They all love her.
They all have great admiration and respect for her.
Mm-hmm. Which you could call a version of love when it comes towards somebody you also think is pretty.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to protect a princess?
Not dating love, but...
Yeah, they love her like a princess and a leader. Oh, I was right, is all I'm saying.
You're not right until somebody slips and accidentally grabs something on somebody else embarrassingly. Then it'll be a harem, Shida.
No, Shida, I won't give it to you were right, because you were clearly going for a romantic love. At one point you said that Lukel's wife Jala was going to betray the group, so that way he can leave her and be able to date Sarene.
I forgot about that.
What?
Yeah, you did say that.
I didn't say that.
You were being half joking, but...
All right.
You said some fucked up shit if you listen back, shit.
No, I didn't. There's no evidence of that.
Yeah, well, I think you've forgotten the whole being recorded across multiple weeks thing.
Well, I thought we were just hanging out.
Yeah. Oh shit, this is recorded? Fuck.
Yeah.
I thought
no one told me that.
So since Sarene, she's no longer able to stay in the palace, and she also has no belongings, she is staying at Kain's home. That night, Sarene talks to her father, and she learns from him that he is, in fact, converted to Shu-Dereth. He tells her she should just convince Erelon to do the same. Her father hasn't actually given his oath yet, but he will be, put at the bottom of the Derethi hierarchy and forced to submit to even the whims of a simple priest. Even though she explained that her healing was just a trick of Hrathen's, Eventio will honor the promise that he had made. since she left the city, she's going to convert. And with the king converting, Teo, the citizens there won't convert immediately. You'll have priests allowed to come in and stuff, and eventually all Teo will convert. So Sarene knows that, she will now have to protect Erlon and Elantris' survival of him.
It's interesting to learn that she does care about her religion. It's not just a thing of pride or of just, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, pure logic or whatever, that she does have, thoughts and feelings about it.
Well, she also knows how dangerous that other religion is,
Mm-hmm. That it was basically created to, take over things. And she also found that book proving that it's not what it says it is, too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's so much the religion as it is the empire.
Yeah, but they have it organized the way specifically it is in order to make it able to take over and control everything. At least that was my understanding.
Yeah, it's made for taking over countries and things. Yep, it says right here we got to take over. In the Bible that we just rewrote.
It's a pyramid scheme of religion.
Basically, yeah.
Scam, yeah.
I think we said that before. Yeah.
It's really funny if it ends up like that, and Hrathen is just like I was saying, a middle manager of the scam, the pyramid.
Well, he's pretty high in the pyramid scheme, but
yeah, but if it's a real scheme, it's not high enough.
He seems happy where he is. What I want to have happen is all of this, and then it turns out this is the true religion, and everyone else is heresy. I just want Hrathen to be the hero of the story. That's all I'm saying.
Justin, it's Delof.
No, not Delof. Oh,
anything else?
Not even this religion, but Delof's crazy extra version of it that just hates Elantrians, Shada. That's the true one?
Yeah.
I see. Well, okay.
Anything else from this Sarene chapter?
No.
Nope.
All right. So we'll go on to chapter 48. So it begins with Hrathen waiting in the palace sitting room for a meeting with Telrii. He's annoyed that he's being forced to wait, but he endures it. Finally, he is brought in to meet Telrii, and both the waiting room and Telrii's study have been decorated lavishly, and Telrii sits on a seat with many cushions and silks. Telrii asks why Hrathen has come to see him, and Hrathen tells him that he had made a promise to join the Telrii religion. Telrii says that he made no such promises, and that Hrathen had simply offered him funds. And, Hrathen tells him that if he doesn't do as Yaz expects, then Hrathen will find somebody else. Telrii says that a conversion can be arranged, but for a price that Hrathen cannot pay. It has to come from someone with more authority. Telrii says that he isn't so ignorant of the ways of the East and that kings bow to Yorns. He cannot have power if he's nothing more than a Telrii slave. Since Telrii priests cannot appoint men to their own position, then Hrathen cannot give him what he wants. Telrii will only convert if he's able to be granted the title of Yorn, and since Hrathen's not able to grant him that, he decided to enlist a higher power. Hrathen is stunned when Telrii says that he had sent a messenger to Wyrn telling him of his demand. Hrathen cannot believe that Telrii has made demands of the regent of all creations. Hrathen realizes the severity of his problems when Wyrn receives that message.
This part was so funny to me. All this attempting to work with Telrii for him to at least just be stupid and greedy, and instead he's stupider than he thought in every way possible. You can't
give me what I want, so I'm going to talk to Wyrn to get it. Oh, yeah. No, don't do that.
I think it's interesting, the idea that kings bow to priests in the Fjorden society and religion. So being a king really doesn't mean much of anything.
Yeah, I like learning so much about that with Sarene's dad, how he's basically going to not be a king anymore, and then seeing that on this side too. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So Telrii wanting to be a Yorn is funny.
See, Hrathen's problem is he thinks people are going to do things that make sense to do. Or act in a way that is logical. He doesn't expect them to have a dumb man's cunning.
Yeah. Who knew that Telrii would end up being a worse king than AonDor?
Everybody.
They're saying that all book.
Telrii's just a rich asshole. AonDor is at least a businessman.
I didn't know it
I
would
li-
be this bad.
It's perfectly described the way Hrathen describes the two different ways they had their offices.
Mm,
Aiden's is full of, books and well organized. It has furniture that's comfortable but not lavish. It is an office. Where
yeah.
Telrii's got a freaking Sultan's harem room he's building in there, basically.
Oh, doesn't he even say like, or is that later where
That's
he's
later.
complaining? Okay, never mind.
Not enough women around for his private council and stuff.
Not enough young women around.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, the last king killed them all. Like,
But who the fuck takes out a desk and chairs to replace them with a bunch of freaking pillows and cushions and
yeah.
stuff?
I thought the image of Hrathen sitting with some pillows on him, like, it's so funny.
Anything else from this chapter you two wanted to bring up?
Mm-mm.
So we'll go on to 49. At first, Raoden stayed away from the library because it reminded him of her. Then he found himself drawn back to the library because it reminded him of her. And Raoden, he's been spending days studying the Aons and noticing that each had characteristics of Erelon. Eno had a line that matched the Aridel River. DI included circles that represented the South Forest, and etc. It's been 5 days since Sarene left and Galladon enters telling Raoden that Ash had just stopped by. It let them know that she's finally convinced the lords to rebel against Telrii, and that they would also begin a supply drop tonight. They have a stipulation where they weren't allowed to retrieve the boxes until after the deliverers had left. Then we get Raoden and Galladon. They're studying a map to figure out what has changed to make the Aeons no longer work. It turns out that it was the chasm. Galladon says the chasm was caused by the Raod, but Raoden says, it brings up the possibility that Earth happened before the Raod. And that earthquake happened, created the chasm, and since now that chasm existed, all the Aeons are invalid. And Raoden tests this out with Aon Ihe, and he feels a surge of power explode through him. He had fixed, and he knows that he had fixed something, and that the door would no longer come against him. The Aeon he had drawn turns into a column of flames, and it starts a bookshelf on fire before disappearing. And so pretty much throughout the entire, book, he's been drawing all the Aeons, but they've had nothing. Kind of stored that power inside of him, which is why he's kept getting all the waves of, pain come to him, unlike everybody else. And now all that has opened up and left him. He's not going to be attacked anymore.
Yay!
It was really interesting to me to see them finally solve the glitch that basically just made every Aeon in the city freak out. And that it was just something so simple was so interesting to me.
I wonder why the Seance still works then. I don't know. Well, that's hard magic for you. I thought there's an actual, scientific answer.
Scientific might be overstepping it a little.
Yeah, but it seems like a math problem where you're like, you forgot to carry it.
Now it makes me wonder if that giant crevice or whatever, the crack that through everything, was something that just occurred naturally, or if there was some force behind it that wanted to hurt everything.
Yep, and it's something that's, we've been reading about all book. They've mentioned the chasm so many times.
Well, they did it well because the specific one they referenced it through was the guy who's, I forget his name, but the guy who was, too poor to stay nobility, how that went through his lands. So because they referenced it that way, it seemed like it was just about him. It did not seem like it would be the big crux of the book to me. So I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, that's true.
I just completely wrote it off as being just as a way to have him be saying that he, why he had lost so much money.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect it to be the thing that would solve everything. Well, not everything, but many things.
So yeah, then after putting out the fire, Raoden begins testing other. They work, but not as strongly as they should have. There's still something wrong. AonDor works, but is handicapped somehow. Even when he remakes the Aon Ahi, making the fire, it's not as strong as the first one had been. It really had to do with the urge of power coming out of him. That's why it was so big. And any Aeon they try to make that Tigrit's either one of their bodies, his and Galladon's, they just don't work. And it's likely because the Shield isn't finished changing their bodies. So, for instance, they would try to make an Aeon that would create light, and the light would be a little dim. And, if he puts in a bunch of modifications to make it as strong as possible, almost like it should be daylight. It's brighter, but still not that bright. All right, so then Raoden, he begins making an Aeon with a lot of modifications. Once he's done it, he puts an illusion on him that makes him appear as if he had been healed. And he didn't target himself, but instead he targeted his clothes, so he's just putting an illusion on top of his clothes. Galden is that, and Raoden tells him that this will get them out of Elantris.
It's nice that they finally have access to magic. After all the talk about all these great magics of the past. Really changes the game for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really opens up potential for what they're able to do now.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice medium power that you got to unlock. You don't get all the
Medium
powers
power.
yet.
Yeah, not high enough level yet.
Yeah, enough to do all the fun stuff, but...
Need to take the full Atlantrian feat, is that it?
Yep. You unlock it later in the story.
Yeah.
Right? Anything else from this chapter you two wanted to go over?
It was nice to see Raoden really like Sarene too.
Yeah, that opening line was one of the most melodramatic lines so far.
Which one?
The library one that Joe said at the beginning. Gotta be hard for Raoden, because unlike Sarene, he's fallen in love with her twice now, you know? She doesn't know that he's also Raoden, so she thinks it's just this new guy's spirit who she fell for.
All right, we'll go on to chapter 50. So it begins with Sarene talking to Ash about Telrii. And he says that Telrii is lounging in his palace while half of Erelon's nobility waits outside. And that Hrathen also visits Telrii every day. Sarene wonders why Telrii has not converted yet. There are also rumors that Hrathen has drafted a proclamation that would force all of Erelon to convert or face incarceration. Once this bill passes, then Hrathen is not going to waste any time in arresting Sarene and the others. However, none of Serene's allies believe that Telrii would actually sign this. So then Sarene heads to Royal's mansion for fencing practice. And she was surprised when the women insisted that they continue the practices. As she is practicing, Sarene thinks about how Elantris was the first time she ever truly felt accepted. She felt warmth from the people there, and they accepted her into their community. In the most cursed city in the world, Spirit had constructed a society that exemplified Karathi teachings. She had spent her adult life trying to find acceptance and love, and when she finally found both of them, she had to leave them behind. Sarene stops when she notices that all the women are huddled at one side of the pavilion. She goes to check it out, and they are looking at a Dulladan aristocrat, dressed in silks and a feathered hat, and he was with a massive and bulky doula. The man is named Kaloo, and he is a Republican from Duladel that had survived the massacre. He was in hiding in southern Erelon and came here when he heard that Iden was looking for a man to take Baron Eden's holding.
For 1 second when this character walked in and started talking, just for 1/2 a second, I thought, oh my god, has this become the stupidest book of all time all of a sudden? Like, who is this fucking guy? Within 1/2 a second, I realized, though.
Oh, that's different from me. I was like, oh man, this guy better not try to be a new contender for Serene's heart.
Well, I was like, why is this foppish, buffoonish cartoon character suddenly being introduced this late in the book?
I was like, oh, we
Like,
just ended the last...
wandering out of the woods and being like, I'm a character, you know?
I'm totally a character that exists.
Within 1/2 a second, I'm like, oh, duh, yeah, okay, I see what this is.
I should have known when he was with a big, tall doula,
They just said that's what they were going to do in the previous chapter.
That's what I mean. I was like, yes, we got these disguise magic. Like, I can't believe it. It got me too.
Wait, so how long did it take Sheeta to figure it out?
Well, actually, I was like, I was off and on, and then when he decided to sword fight her, I was like, maybe it's not, because that would be crazy. Like, why would you
back and forth?
Yeah, because I was like, oh no, it's him. It's like, wait, maybe not, because that's really dangerous. You shouldn't sword fight. If
people haven't read the book and they haven't figured out what we're talking about, Kaloo is Raoden in disguise.
You really shouldn't be getting your spoilers from a bunch of people rambling about this book. This is not the most efficient way to digest the story.
Yeah, but I know some people who are will be listening to it and without having actually read the book.
Yeah. Well, I guess
And-
they're just drawn to our magnetic charisma.
Like I said, and I was listening to the Worst Idea Ever podcast, and that's how I was figuring out the story of Grown Ups 2.
That's a totally different situation.
Grown Ups 2 is not a big fantasy epic. Unless I've never seen it.
Yeah,
so.
Sheila, you haven't seen it. Don't you know that's on the list of this stuff we've got to read?
It's part of the Cosmere? Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, they end every episode. It's like, yep, I'm so-and-so. Don't watch Grown Ups 2.
And what did you do?
I watched Grown Ups 2. After listening to about 30 episodes of the podcast, I had to look up to see exactly what pain they're going through. All right. But anyway, so Kaloo, and at this point, Kaloo notices Sarene and goes up to her. He tries to flirt with her, but Sarene is having none of it. Kaloo is being very over-the-top and stereotypical doula. Sarene feels like he is too stereotypical, and she does not like him. Since Duladin citizens are said to be the finest fencers of the world, she challenges them to a duel. She takes out her finest seer, which doesn't have balls on the end of it, so just a little bit of a point. The two begin to fence, and Kaloo was surprisingly good, but he would still be one of the poorer Duladin aristocratic fencers. They fence across the yard, and at one point Sarene believes that she strikes him. Sarene spins to strike him again, but Kaloo was on his knee, seer stuck in the ground, and was holding up a yellow flower towards her. Sarene sighs and accepts the flower. They both knew it was his excuse to end the duel while escaping embarrassment. He not only managed to avoid looking the fool, but also impressed the women with his courtly sense of romance. Sarene doesn't see a wound on him, and she doesn't see blood on her seer, so she figures that she didn't strike him. As Kaloo leaves, he gives Sarene a knowing, sly smile, and Sarene finds the smile strikingly familiar for some reason. So that is that chapter.
Do you think he magicked that flower there?
They were in a garden.
Yeah, but she said that she didn't know where he got it from.
Because the other people were watching it, they would have noticed him suddenly draw an Aon.
That's true.
And the
Maybe
Aons
he
are,
picked.
and I don't think the Aons are strong enough to grow a flower.
That's true. Maybe he picked it beforehand. That would be kind of nice.
We were told earlier on in the book that Raoden was one of the few people that actually learned how to use a sword.
Yeah. I can't believe he agreed to that. That is so dangerous. He could have been killed.
No, he could not have.
He could have been seriously injured.
Literally could not be killed.
Yeah, he can be worse than be killed. He could be stabbed in the cheek and have a permanent pain that will never go away for all of time.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but like ignorant Sarene pisses me off so much sometimes.
Well, how is she supposed
to know the other side?
That's what I mean, because I'm like, oh, how is she supposed to know? But I'm like, she even takes a second, like, maybe we shouldn't fight with the super sharp swords. I'm like, oh well, fuck it. And then
then
do it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, there she is. She's just gone to Elantris, can't be with the person that she loves, and now this over-the-top stereotypical guy just starts flirting with you. She was kind of annoyed. That was not what she wanted to deal with at that time.
Yeah, that's why it makes me mad, because I'm like, why put it in with... She always has a fine reason to do whatever she's doing, but it still annoys me.
All right, so if there's nothing else on here, we'll move on to Hrathen.
Mm-hmm.
With chapter 51, Hrathen is walking through a market of merchants from the east. He's glad to be treated the way a man of his station should be treated. He thinks about how hard he tried to use his Seon to... Oh, no. He thinks about how he had tried to use his Seon to contact Wyrn to warn him about Telrii's message, but it was too late. And Wyrn only displayed slight anger at Telrii, though. Wyrn indicated that he has little patience for fools, and he will never name a foreigner to Yorn. Hrathen's meetings with Telrii since then have not gone well. While he's walking through the market, Hrathen believes that he sees a man in a red Derethi robe head into a tent that has extravagant embroidery and wind-like pavilions on the side. The artists are supposed to be in solitary meditation at the moment, so Hrathen heads in to see which priest disobeyed him. Inside the tent it is very dark with only a single lantern giving light, and it's piled with books, barrels, and bins. The tent is perfumed by sweet sands, soaps, and oils, In the back, there is a box of ashes, the remnants of burnt incense. Incense! Burnt incense!
That's not what I heard. I was trying to figure out what I missed reading in that chapter.
Well, that's fucked up.
I don't even know what that fucking means.
I know, my mind went crazy.
They captured some Lannisters and burned them to death.
I guess.
Well, I guess there's only 2 Lannisters are incest, so
That we know
Targaryen
of.
would have been a better metaphor.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have played as well to the audience.
I don't know, with House of the Dragon now, it's
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that. Haven't seen
Oh,
how much
that's true.
incest there is.
it is good. Even if you didn't like the original series, I think this one's pretty damn good.
I've only heard positives from people who
It's
hated
based
the
off
show.
of the book too, right? Or there's a House of the Dragons book, right?
Fire and Blood. It's like a history of the Targaryens, so it's about a section of that book.
Let's see.
Because Fire and Blood covers about 150 years. But back to here. So back into the tent with the burned incense, and from behind, Hrathen, Delof says, maybe not behind, but in the tent, Delof says that the ashes are like the wreckage of Hrathen's power. And Delof says that Hrathen has failed and that Telrii is playing with him. A Yorn. Men do not make demands of the Fjordell Empire. Hrathen asks how Delof knows this, and Delof admits that Hrathen was close, but his foolishness cost him the victory. Hrathen says that his battle is far from over and he still has time. And Delof asks, do you? It has all slipped away from Hrathen, and Delof's victory is so sweet in the face of his failure. Hrathen asks, what victory? And Delof smiles, and in the flickering light, he seems not a man at all, but a Svarkis sent to torment Hrathen. Delof leaves the tent, and Hrathen asks once again, quietly, what victory?
This part was horrifying to me.
I think Hrathen is high. This did not happen.
I could see that too.
Yeah, this is just so weird. That also very out of character for Delof. So I just think
I'm
that
starting to suspect that Delof is like an ancient demon of some sort.
oh my god, an actual
he's like-
Bacchus?
He's like, you came close, but your failure is so sweet compared to my victory. I'm like, Delof, what the fuck are you talking about? That creeped me out so much.
Yeah.
And then he just walks off, and Hrathen's like, fuck it, whatever. I don't even know what's up with this guy.
This is some kind of hallucination.
I stand by mine.
Yeah, I think that, or yeah, I was thinking maybe like the poisons of the Sheod that he took is having some kind of side effects with him. Like, that was so weird.
Yeah, this is one where if there was ever an adaptation, this scene, they better keep it in as it is. Just like, you can just easily picture the scene with the tent, the lantern, all these smokes and stuff, and then the lighting they could do on Delof to make him look really like creepy and scary.
I just have seen this before where you follow someone and do some kind of circus tent and you see the future or something,
Telling you, Delof is this world's Satan.
And this is also
He's
something
doing-
in plain sight all this time.
It's also something where pretty much since part 2 started, we have not really seen much of Delof. He's just been kind of, you see him standing there once in a while, not really doing anything, and all of a sudden this happens. It's like, oh yeah, Delof.
He's definitely been off doing something. He's gonna play his hand suddenly, all of a sudden, and it's gonna be fucked up. It's gonna destroy everything.
Yeah, I was wondering where he was all this time because I love him.
I bet you were. Yeah.
But no, this kind of
No, what?
Just that it made me really think maybe your theory was right. That Hrathen has been paranoid about Delof this whole time.
No, I love how Hrathen, he comes in, he thinks the king is his archenemy, he thinks Sarene is, all the nobles, even Telrii now. No, Delof is his archenemy in this book. This little guy he barely thought much of when he slinked in to get his little position.
He got a promotion this last time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
No. I guess just the mentioning that none of the nobles are coming out to shop because of Telrii, which is funny.
And the ones
It's
that
not.
do are acting like everything's normal, you know?
Yeah. So it's not really going towards his plans like he thought.
All right, on to chapter 52.
I'm sorry, I like the part I forgot where he's talking about how Telrii won't believe, you know, but that doesn't matter because his children will. And then in the next generation, everyone will truly believe. I thought that was an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, because that's how it works usually.
Mm-hmm.
If they grow up knowing nothing but that,
Yeah, very cold, logical way to think about how to win over a people.
Yeah, interesting to think of it kind of religiously too.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me think. Oh, no, I won't say that now. Next chapter.
Yep. So chapter 52. It begins with Galladon stitching up the cut on Raoden's face that Sarene had given him. It'd been a couple days since their little fight, but Raoden really needs it stitched up because he could feel it spreading.
His cheek ripping whenever he moves it, which was really creepy.
And in their disguises, the two of them have been staying in Royal's mansion as guests. As Kaloo, Raoden has spent the last 2 days ingratiating himself with the nobility, and they have latched onto him with startling vigor. The freed-willed silliness that he brought helps them forget the chaos of the last few weeks. Sarene is suspicious of him, though. He wants to tell her who he really is as soon as possible, but she has resisted any attempts by Kaloo to get her alone. She even refused a letter he sent, returning it unopened. Raoden asks, why is it that every time I meet her, Sarene is determined to hate me? Royal comes to visit with him and asks how he escaped the fall of Duladel. Raoden says that he must keep that a secret because it would harm those that had helped him. Royal tells him that Kaloo is the only person he has seen that managed to escape. Royal talks about how Telrii is not a strong leader and that Erlon might face what happened in Duladel. Raoden tells him that they need a different leader. Royal invites Raoden to a meeting at Kain's place. And then after Royal leaves, Raoden tells Galladon that both Sarene and Royal were suspicious of him. Unlike Sarene, Sarene, pretty much her primary question is, why is this man trying to fool me? But Royal's primary question is, how can I make use of what I know? Raoden wants to find a way to put Royal on the throne. And then Raoden, he smears some brown makeup on a cloth and puts it in his pocket. Galladon asks what that was, and Raoden says that he hopes it is something he won't have to use. And that's the end of that chapter.
Another nice and quick one.
Yep.
Funny to see Royal take such a liking to Kaloo, of all people.
Yeah. One of my favorite Galladon parts of this one. Raoden turns around and he's like, all right, and the great Kaloo is back. Galladon's like, oh god, stop, not in private too. Like,
he does a little spin and everything.
Yeah.
Like, this is just offensive to me. Please stop.
Yeah, like I want to strangle you in public already, so just stop. It's just so funny.
I guess Raoden is acting like what a typical Duladel is supposed to be like.
Yeah,
Just
the
that
one he's seen in his life.
The only Duladel we've seen is Galladon, who's been mentioned throughout the book that he's not a typical Dula.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be a lot more depressed and upset than a Duladel.
Yeah, but even so, this has to be just a stereotype based on what he's seen in his life. Like, I don't think you can act like this genuinely if you didn't grow up in it. You've got to look like a frickin' asshole if you're trying to pull it off from a memory.
He said he's met a couple.
Yeah.
He's met a...
Yeah, but if you're like, oh, I've met a couple people from, like, Australia, and then you try to act Australian, you're going to come off as such an asshole. Like, I watched Crocodile Dundee. I know how to do it.
Everyone talks like Steve Irwin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've watched Lord of the Rings. That's New Zealand. Yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was interesting that he does not have an accent though.
Yeah, and he came up with the whole reason why that would be okay. Because, yeah, trying to do the accent would give you away in a second, I'm sure.
All right, so we'll go on to chapter 53, Serene's chapter. Yeah, nothing happens. We'll skip that one.
Huh, that's not how I remember it.
All right, go over it. Yeah, a shit ton happens. So chapter 53, Sarene, She shows up for the meeting, and she is upset when she sees that Kaloo is at the meeting. She says that he could be a spy, but he claims that he isn't one. And Royal says that fresh opinions of Kay will be helpful, much like the same argument that she gave when she had first arrived. Sarene reluctantly agrees. We also see during this time that Lukul also does not really like Kaloo. Kind of a thing where, with Kaloo there, he's taken the comedic relief that Lukul used to have.
I thought that was kind of petty of Lukul. It's like,
How are you supposed to compete with Kaloo?
Right, so the group discusses what they should do, and whenever Kaloo speaks, Sarene studies him. Aon suggests that they should convince Telrii to not convert, but that won't work because he's just trying to fleece Wyrn for more money. Ro brings up that they should bring in an army, but there are no armies they can get. Lukul suggests bringing the small folk in, but they won't have time to train them. And AonDor brings up they should kill Telrii, and the group seems to quietly accept this.
I like the part where she's like, I didn't expect somebody to bring that up so fucking quickly. These guys don't want to fuck around.
but it was sad that Serena even sees that her uncle was like, yeah, gotta kill him. Like, she's never seen him like that before.
Yeah. Telrii, you may not have noticed, Shada, sucks.
Yeah, he's the worst.
He just is the worst. You saw his daughter.
Oh yeah, I can't believe how unforgivable and unlikable she is. We don't even see her anymore again.
Mhm.
Like a little girl, and I don't care that if she's dead or alive. Like,
Yeah.
just shows how bad she is. I mean, the book doesn't. I'm curious, but
And Kaloo brings up that they are underestimating the people of Erelon. The nobles have a hesitancy to back Telrii, and the guard could be turned if they persuaded them that this isn't right. Kaloo says they will recognize that they supported the wrong man. Give men an honest choice, and he believes they will choose wisely. And hearing him say all this makes Sarene realize the truth about Kaloo. She knows that pure belief in basic goodness of all men. Sarene jumps up and yelps. And then we have a quick POV change to Raoden, and he realizes his mistake. He allowed too much of himself to show. He looked into Sarene's eyes and could tell that she knew. Despite their short time together, she had recognized him, even when his best friends could not. And then, once again, the POV switches back to Sarene, and Royal asks if Sarene is alright. She says that they should take a break, and gives Kaloo a telling look. She heads into Kain's study, and Kaloo follows. She grabs him by the shirt and asks if he is spirit, and he confirms it is. After a quick explanation of how, she asks why he didn't tell her. He replies that she never gave him a chance to.
No, first he says, how does she word it? Do you remember, Shada? Like, what would be the fun in that or something? And she likes it. And he's like, only you would actually take that as an excuse. Something like that.
yeah. It's like,
I
why
thought
didn't
that
you
was
tell
funny.
me? And he's like, oh, that wouldn't have been as fun. And she's like, this is just
Like,
their,
that
like,
is true. That wouldn't have been as fun. I
they
thought
are
that
the
was
same.
quite
This is their
funny in
foreplay.
character.
Like,
Yeah. They're both a little, like
weird.
secrets and mischievous stuff.
Here we go, I found the exact thing. Why'd you lie to me? Oh, and you're going to tell me that it wasn't more fun this way? Well,
That
only you
was-
would consider that a valid excuse, my princess.
They're the same.
Alright, so then Spirit wraps his arms around Sarene. She asks why he came, and he said it was to see her. And also that it was to stop everyone from slaughtering each other. And then Sarene gets lost in Spirit's eyes. While she's looking at him, Spirit says, "You've done a wonderful job here. Better than I could have even imagined. I assumed that these men would stop meeting after I left." Sarene shakes from the trance. What was that you just said? After you left? And then they get voices coming from the other room, and Spirit winks at her, telling her that he has something else to tell her once the meeting is over and they can speak more privately.
Finally, is what I thought.
And then back in the meeting, Aon said that something he ate didn't agree with him and he had left.
the second he did that. I was like, guys, get the fuck out of here.
And Royal brings up that he had hired assassins from the east and they are staying in a nearby inn. However, Kaloo has changed his mind. It has wound up changing Royal's mind. Pronouns, pal. And then Telrii enters the room along with a group of armed soldiers. They were followed by Aon. Aon gleefully tells Royal that he finally got him, and after the joking Royal has done about Aon's caravans, they'll see how Royal's caravans do when he's in prison for the next few years. And Royal calls Aon a fool, saying that this stopped being a game. Aon says that Royal has to admit that he finally got him. He has been waiting to do this for months, but Iodin never took it seriously.
That was the scariest part, that he's been trying, Aiden knew about this like all that time.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of sad that he didn't believe his friend would do that to him.
Well, he didn't believe he'd be so stupid as to think things would go as he imagined, right?
Hmm?
That he wouldn't be so stupid as to think that things would go like all playfully, like he would just be imprisoned like that.
Oh, no, I meant King Iodin. Like, he didn't believe
Oh, yeah.
anything that Royal and them were, like, having meetings behind his back, trying to dethrone him.
For how
It made me kind
paranoid
of...
he was. He wasn't paranoid
Yeah, that made me
enough.
kind of sad for him, because he's like, no, that he wouldn't do that. We're old friends. Like, yeah, we would, actually. Like,
And Royal says that Ahan has always been so fond of acting without thought. And Sarene is having a hard time believing this. Traitors are supposed to be men with dark eyes and sour dispositions. She liked Ahan. How could someone she liked do something so horrible? And then Telrii snaps his fingers, and a soldier steps forward and rams his sword directly into Royal's belly.
no!
Ahan yells and says that, Telrii had said they put them into prison. Ahan pushes past Telrii and kneels beside Royal, blubbering. Telrii sends some soldiers out to find the assassins and toss them off the Elantris wall. He tells the rest of them to kill the traitors, starting with Sarene. And then Hrathen, Lukul, and Eondel make a wall in front of Sarene, but only Eondel has a sword.
See, they do love her.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I mean. They all take up the protective thing really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, they see her as a girl, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then from behind Sarene, Raoden says that he was under the impression that the throne belonged to Iodin's family. When Sarene looks at him, she doesn't recognize the face, but he has spirit's eyes. Telrii begins to shout that Raoden is dead, and the guards are confused and they leave after Telrii scrambles from the room. And laying on the table in front of Raoden is a cloth with all the brown makeup as if he had wiped off the Kaloo disguise.
I really should have seen that coming. I don't know why I didn't, but it seems so obvious now that that's why he took that at the end of that previous chapter.
Raoden goes over to Royal. Aon is trust the wound, but it won't be enough. Raoden attempts to use an Aon to heal Royal, but the Aon's still too weak. And Raoden also didn't learn the modifications in order to pick where on the body to heal. So a general all over Royal's body. And Royal tells Raoden not to cry. He cannot save this old body, but he can still save the kingdom. Royal will die in peace, knowing that Raoden is here to protect it. Raoden turns to the others. Hrathen, Eondel, and Lukul drop to their knees and bow their head. Eondel says, "My king." Sarene realizes shock, and she says, "My husband?" And that's where that chapter ends.
Well, Shida, they gave you what you wanted, but they took something you liked from you, too.
Everything has a price. I really liked, though. I had no idea that Raoden and Royal had such a deep, intimate relationship. Like, he pretty much raised him, he was saying. He was saying, without you, I would have ended up like my father. But he's like, no, you're more like your mother.
Yeah.
That was really sweet. So sad.
I don't know why you would not expect Telrii to just kill everyone, especially when they're talking about us doing assassinations against him. Like, that's just stupid to think that he'll jail them like that. You know he's too dumb for that kind of craftiness.
It just shows that Aang just kind of lives in a royal, like a noble world. Like, not noble, but he doesn't understand the stakes. Like, he is a fool, just like he was saying,
Yeah. And so is Telrii. They're both fools. That never ends well.
Yeah. When things get serious, he was blubbering, like...
Because they say in the next chapter it would have been smarter to imprison him first, not just execute him outright, That was like a pretty stupid, impulsive move, like a power move, But he hadn't actually secured his power yet, so that's just dumb.
It is. He's acting like Joffrey.
Yeah.
Like
at least
a
Joffrey
kid.
has the excuse of being a sociopathic child.
Is that really an excuse?
Hey, You don't choose how childish you are. You don't choose if you have no emotions and want to hurt everyone around you. Telrii seems like just a normal, rich asshole guy. He could have thought it through first.
Yeah. Well, I hope he's killed.
I wonder.
So with this chapter, were either of you shocked when Aon betrayed the group?
When they said, when Serene's like, "Where's Aon?" And they're just like, "Oh, he's with Telrii. I guess we thought we needed a spy or something in there." I was like, like, I knew he was gonna, or that
Oh,
he
when
would.
he was, I see, way back then.
Yeah. When they're
Yeah.
like, he's kind of talking with Telrii. Same with how Delof hasn't been saying much. I feel like he was up to something.
Yep.
I didn't
With
think it would be
Aon.
like this.
Yeah, with Aon and everything. So when Brandon Sanderson first put the group together, he planned on having the betrayal happen, but also he put Baron Eden in there as a red herring, which because you have this guy, and clearly it's supposed to be someone where everyone thinks this guy will betray them. Which, to be honest, when he first showed up, both youth said he will betray the group.
Yeah,
that's why I should have kept him around longer. If he was still here now, I would have thought the other guy was just using the bathroom,
Yeah, that's true.
Well, then part of the thing is what he did is he had Eden leave. That would think that the person that would be the betrayer left, so now they're safe.
Yeah.
I did think that.
And I like early on, Justin says at one point, it could just be a red herring, but I don't think it is.
I guess I should have trusted my instincts.
You notice it a little bit more when it's going the second time, but once Iden goes down, Aon he stops, really trying to help the group, and what he's saying is just kind of like, well, we can't go up Telrii. Maybe we should just wait for Telrii to convert, or not convert. He just stopped being useful with the group.
Mm-hmm.
The line that made me suspicious of him was when he was like, "It's just a religion, Serene. Like, who cares? Like, we should just do it." I like that.
And I think it's interesting because even at the end, it's not like he wasn't really betraying them out of spite. It was more just being a fool and being like, I got one up on you. Thinking that
he doesn't seem to think it's going to matter who's in power, like everything's going to be the same,
Mm-hmm.
But that just makes it sad and pathetic. His best friend just died.
Because of him, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like when Raoden gets Telrii and them to leave. He rushes over, pushing Ahan out of the way to get to Royal. Thought it was interesting that Serene's uncle was the one trying to revive him or tend to him while everyone is kind of guards up against Telrii.
Mm-hmm.
I thought for a second that he was going to get healed with the new magic.
Yeah, it seemed that way.
That was really sad. I was like, oh no, Raoden can heal him with magic and impress everybody. But no.
And I also like when Raoden half revealed himself to Serene.
Mm-hmm. But she was too shocked to notice.
It's like, wait, what the hell did you just say? Oh, we gotta go into the other room. Let's go.
That was really exciting.
Then she finds out by the end of the chapter.
Yeah. In a less romantic way.
All right. Anything else from this chapter? All right, so we'll go on to chapter 54, the last chapter of part 2 of Elantris. So it begins with Hrathen hearing the news about how Telrii had Royal executed, and he's kind of shocked when he hears the news. It strikes him as a fortune when he figures out that it was a logical execution because Royal was a traitor. He still would have rather him be imprisoned and put to trial, but this will still work. The slaughter, still bothers Hrathen, so he wants to have Telrii draw up a draft of a warrant for it.
Execution draft was.
Yep, he wants Telrii to draft up a warrant of execution for the nobles to see. All right, and then the messenger also tells Hrathen that Prince Raoden has returned. And Hrathen kind of brushes off. He believes that it's just a lookalike that Serene had found. That the people Raoden with the level of idolization that only dead men get. If Serene brings him out, then she can call him her husband and continue her bid for the throne. And so Hrathen, he tries to see Telrii, but Telrii is refusing any visitors. Hrathen keeps bothering the guards every 5 minutes. After an hour, the guard once again goes and checks with Telrii. Different guard out and kills the other guard that's at the door. I'm just using the word guard a lot. So 2 guards at the door. Wraith tells one of them, I want to go see Telrii. So guard number 1 goes in to go talk Telrii. Then a different guard number 3 comes out and kills guard number 2. That's an easier way to explain it. And so then Hrathen storms into the room and the tapestries are on fire while the guards are in battle with AonDor's legion. And then, everything kind of slows down for Hrathen as he watches Telrii attempt to run away, but AonDor decapitates him.
That was quite sudden.
Yeah.
But then AonDor collapses to the floor with a wound in his side.
No.
And Hrathen stares at the 2 corpses and he thinks, well, so much for avoiding a bloody change in power.
Yeah.
Plans aren't the way he wants, but he's still thinking of, I can work with it.
Yeah. Well,
he's like,
he needed Telrii off the throne now. What's that shit?
I just like this whole part where Hrathen's like, shit's going down. I gotta find Telrii. He's really important to my head.
Yeah. Were you happy, shit, though? That's what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
It's funny that the writer knows that everyone will like Royal enough that you need to kill Telrii immediately after to appease everybody.
Yeah.
But Jesus, I forget how violent this book's going to be, and then somebody just gets decapitated right in front of me.
Oh, but AonDor, he didn't. He had to balance the scales right away, though. My other favorite character.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he's just a little injured. Then Hrathen calls him a corpse already.
Right. Anything else in this short chapter you wanted to go over?
No, fun stuff.
I like Hrathen being like, of all the days to not wear my giant armor.
Yeah.
I don't think it really would have mattered too much because the person he had to save, he would not have gotten over there in time to save him anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Anything else in the chapters that we went over today that you 2 wanted to go over?
Just big moves happening. I didn't know that this was going to be the end of a second part either. I had forgotten the book was split into parts, so when it just cuts to Hrathen being like, oh shit, to be continued, I thought that was a pretty interesting place to pause.
Yeah, pretty fun or exciting to imagine it as a play. And then curtain falls on Hrathen. Like, oh shit.
I'd be more sad about Royal dying, but I thought he was going to die from like the second he came into the story. Pretty much the second he was going to, that Sarene was liking him and he was being humanized so much. I'm like, this guy is fucked. I have been expecting this for a long, long time.
No. I thought it was so funny that even though we all love Royale already, it was just so funny to have, and Serene's gotten really close with him too. But then when Raoden and Royal share his final moments, and with Raoden being like, "You were like a father to me," basically, and she feels kind of like she's intruding on their moment together, even though she has had a relationship with him too. Like they are even closer, so it made it even sadder.
All right. It's time for some predictions and questions and shit. So we'll start off with Deloff. So what is he talking about when he's saying that his victory will be so sweet?
That was not Deloff, that was a hallucination.
That's your official theory, Shida?
Well, that or what you said, that he's some kind of fracas, like dark god or something. Fracas is what he's like the enemies of their religion. Like will test it.
I see.
Like
then what does he want?
If he is like that, I think he just wants to test Hrathen. Maybe eat everyone.
Okay, you're off the wagon there, Shida.
Yeah.
I think he might be doing something with all the poor people out in the other city because we haven't seen them for such a long time. Because they got to come into play at some point, I assume. Either that or he is an ancient enemy that caused the Sheod and is doing some long con downfall. One of the two of those. Either rallying support out there or he is the Antichrist. One of the two. Other than that, I couldn't guess. Maybe he's made every poor person out in those other cities, anointed them as his underlings, And he's promised that if they storm the city and Elantris, they can all become the new holy men of something and get food again. That's all I got.
I have this theory of him secretly reporting to Wern and stuff, and telling him, like, exaggerating all of Hrathen's failures, and they have like a plan B in effect for when he fails.
Like the armies are already marching.
Yeah.
But he's only Artith. He would not be able to talk to Wern. Their religion's very structured. He'd have to be a higher rank.
Yeah, unless he secretly is all along.
Yeah, he's a spy.
Or he found some loophole we don't know about. Or he is Wern in disguise. That's how off the rails we get when Hrathen starts getting paranoid about him, and it gets us all paranoid.
This is why, yeah, it's just all in his imagination.
So, the new supplies going into Elantris, they are not allowed to see the deliverers. And they have to go after the deliverers. Just leave the stuff and go away. So why can't they see these people delivering the packages?
That I do not know.
Well, isn't it Serene's Seon that's delivering that message?
Her Seon tells Galadin there will be another delivery today.
Yeah.
But
then I'm like, maybe it's being infiltrated by somebody. Because it is taking instructions from her dad, too. So maybe it's what is it where you secretly hide and then jump a person?
Like they're doing a Trojan horse, you're saying? Or sneaking army people in?
No, like a trick, starts with an S, where you hide and you're like, oh yeah, it's just over there, and then they go over there, and then you jump them, and it's a trap.
I mean, you just described it, right?
I know, but there's a word.
Yeah, I don't know what word you're looking for.
Joe?
Doesn't really matter either.
Alright, well, I think they're doing that.
On who? On the Elantrians?
On Raoden and them. Because
Why?
now her dad's working with Wern and the bad guys now.
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe they're sneaking enemy soldiers in. That'd be all I could guess.
Okay.
That would be such a fast move against Elantris, of all places, which nobody cares about.
Everyone seems to want it, though.
Right? Look through some of these chapters. So why did Lucal and Kain know so much about Elantrians?
That was kind of freaky to learn. Like, if they knew all that, why didn't they
Because they caused the shaft.
do it?
That's why they had a rift back in the day.
That would be a twist.
Yeah, I've been saying 3 different people caused it so far, so...
Yeah.
Especially since the rift between Kain and her father happened 5 years before the Raoden.
Yeah, and it took 5 years to take effect, obviously.
And Eventio knew about it, but never told him, hey, this is going to happen.
He didn't know that's what was going to happen. He just knew something. That's not a real theory, so please just ignore me. I do not think Kain caused the shade.
I still think we haven't learned anything about his shady or other son that is kind of weird, you know? So maybe something with that is why they know?
I mean, Lucal could be an Elantrian in disguise.
No.
His skin's normal.
How?
Yeah, makeup. A wig.
He's too optimistic and easygoing.
I'm just saying that would be a way that you would know how Elantrians work.
Well, the other son is what I'm saying.
Also, he's always making so much food. He's always excited to eat it. Just saying.
That's not even true. You're mixing up 3 characters.
The other son also has normal skin.
Yeah, but he's
the other
also
son's
hidden.
not an Atlantrian. Somebody in their family is a secret Atlantrian. That's all I'm saying. At some point in time, somebody had to have hid it from everyone else.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Like, couldn't you just hide the fact that someone is,
it would take
has
a
been
lot
taken?
of effort.
Like, who would even know? How would they know?
Could be one of the kids, maybe the autistic kid.
That's what I'm saying, Justin. That's the character I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's the other brother.
Hmm.
He's hidden most of the time, and I think maybe not an Elantrian, but a conduit of some sort of the magic. Maybe he's like a seer or something, where he has the shining.
Based on less stuff than what I said.
At least I'm getting the characters right.
Huh? What are you talking about?
You forgot about the brother.
So, Sheeta, since you didn't forget, what's his name?
His name is. Shoot. Those are
Yeah, I don't know anyone's name, but I didn't forget about anyone. I don't know what you're talking about.
written in my notes, so that doesn't count. If I made up a name that sounds kind of like the rest of his kids' names, I bet I could
Don't
get
even
it.
try it. Don't even try it.
Oh, let's see what her guess is.
Let's see. Kisei? Keine? Kaine?
What was that?
Kaine? Is that close?
Adien?
Yep.
Adien.
That's what I heard her say.
There you go.
Yeah, because Kine has 3 kids, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
3 kids, 1 older one that's a stepson. That's
4.
Luco.
There's
Oh,
4
who's the
kids.
4th kid? I remember a daughter, and I remember a son, both pretty young, and I remember the older son. Who's the 4th one?
That
Luco?
is 4. Luco.
Yeah, Luco's the one who's the older one. Who am I thinking of who's the
You have
4th?
You
Luco,
don't
you have Adien,
freaking remember.
then Luco's the oldest, then Adien's the one in the middle that, in all honesty, we have not seen much of him in the book. And then you have the 2 young ones of, KZ and Daorn.
Yeah, okay. So, Shada, what are you talking about? I said the autistic one. He's the younger one. And then there's the smart-ass daughter, then Luco. So I never referenced this other brother. I don't think he has it. I mean, he could, now that you're saying that he's not
Oh my god,
featured
that's not
much,
who I'm
but-
talking about. So
You're
Doesn't
both talking
matter.
about the same one. Justin,
Yeah.
you're forgetting the youngest kid.
What
Daorn,
youngest kid?
you have Daorn and KZ. They're the 2 young boy and girl. They're
Yeah, they
Yeah.
call them the
And
And the
twins.
young
all-
boy's the one who's like said the steps and everything, right?
Nope,
No.
there's a
that's Adien. He's in the middle.
Okay, so that one was Adian. So
Yes.
okay.
Daorn is really young, and he and KZ are they're called twins, but they're not actually twins.
Yeah, no, that's what I remembered. I just gave the younger kid the thing that the middle kid has.
Let's see. All right, so I'll ask you, because next week we'll be finishing the book. Now, I'm not saying that there will or will not be any more characters that die, but each of you pick one person that you feel will die.
Oh, that's tough. The first thing that popped in my head was Delof, even though I don't want that to happen. I feel like once Hrathen finds out what he's up to, he might kill him.
No, my guess is Hrathen. He can't not have something bad happen to him after everything's going so wrong.
Hrathen?
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of our main characters.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah,
be
I guess.
ecstatic if he survives, but I'm not expecting it.
So my second guess is Wern.
Wern?
Yep, if they kill him, then Hrathen can, not have his faith. He can have his faith be shattered, which is what I've been wanting.
And then with Eventio and, the whole Teo and converting to Shudareth, what's going to happen to him in this whole conversion thing? Will he convert?
Well, I don't really know what converting means. Like, I don't know if he's already done the ceremonies he needed to do or whatever. So I can't give that an answer.
No, he has not done the ceremonies because they need to wait for a Derethi priest to arrive there.
Oh, then 100% no. Unless this story ends on a real downer note, I don't believe so.
I don't think he will. He might wait to see what moves Sarene and them do before converting.
But it would be funny if he converts and gives his kingdom over to the enemy, and then our city winds up staying free, and now it's them versus the world.
Right. So I guess we'll go over next week's chapters. Like I said, next week we'll be finishing the book. So just going from chapter 55 to the end. Now, at the end, after you finish the book, you'll have the epilogue. And then if anybody has the 10th anniversary edition of the book, there's going to be some extra stuff after that. There will be an Ars Arcanum, which is just kind of explains the magic system. For Justin Sheeta, don't read that.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be some stuff in there that I don't want you to read right now. We'll come back to it later.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Then there's deleted scenes that you can also skip. Then in the book, after the deleted scenes, there's going to be a postscript, where that you can read. First part of the postscript is just the thing with Brandon Sanderson talking about, how it was when the book first got published and stuff. That's all right. But then there's the second half of the postscript, which is an additional scene of the story. So pretty much just read chapter 55 through the epilogue, skip the Ars Arcanum and deleted scenes, but then read the postscript. And that will be the end of this book. And then after that, like I said, anybody who hasn't picked it up and you're planning on reading along, pick up Arcanum Unbounded, short stories and novellas, because after we finish this book, we'll be reading a short story from that. And then after that, we'll be starting Mistborn. So we'll go with Mistborn, The Final Empire would be the next full-length novel.
Are we going to do favorite characters?
Yeah, that was going to be coming up next.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll just go into that. So your character of the week. Go!
I really liked Raoden in this one. I thought it was interesting to see him be funnier than I thought he was as Kaloo. And I just liked seeing him as a cool guy. And he was really kind of like him without his pains, was more flirty and light-hearted. You got to see a little bit of him before the Sheod. So I liked seeing that. Honorable mention is Kaloo and how annoying he was to Galadin.
They're the same person.
Different characters, though.
Well, Raoden was not my favorite this chapter, but Kaloo was my favorite this chapter. So I'm going with Sheeta on the separate peoples thing. Everything the great Kaloo did was so stupid and annoying that I just enjoyed it so much.
My character of the week will be Raoden. Just everything from, finding out the truth about Sarene and having to get her out of the city to, going out, doing all the shit as Kaloo, and then finally revealing himself at the end. A lot of shit went down with him over the course of these chapters.
So you guys have the same favorite character.
You too.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Now I have to cast Kaloo.
It's this.
Yeah, but they're not going to have him do frickin' brownface in the TV show. They'd get a new actor for it.
Mm-hmm. I know
It's
just
true.
who to pick. Plus, you got to have the audience think like, "Oh, who's this guy? He's got a twinkle in his eye."
It was never really meant to be a mystery. And also, all the Kaloo stuff just kind of made me think of the Count of Monte Cristo. I haven't read the book, but I did watch the mid-2000s movie, which was pretty fun. All right, so now we'll go on to quotes. If either of you are ready with yours.
Well, mine's not that exciting, so I'll start first. Where is it? There in the center of the most cursed city in the world, Spirit had constructed a society that exemplified Karathi teachings. The church taught of the blessing of unity. It was ironic that the only people who practiced such ideals were those who had been damned.
Ooh,
Just because I think it is. What's that?
very artsy.
I think it's interesting how that kind of stuff works where, there's all the nice teachings of a church, but in a nice, easy, comfy society, it's often not taken as seriously as it is when everyone's life is horrible and they have those kind of ideas brought to them.
Yeah, I mean, look at Ahane. He grew up in comfort and he ended up being the worst.
A lot of these mercantile nobles would have that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when everything's shit and it's either work together or have a horrible, horrible life for everyone, it's a lot more, easy to implement that kind of thinking.
Well, my favorite quote is just the entire reveal part, which I thought was just done so perfectly. That's basically right when Raoden says, "Interesting you should mention usurpers, Duke Telrii," said a voice from across the table. "I was under the impression that the throne belonged to Iadin's family." Sarene followed the sound. Her eyes found Spirit, or someone wearing Spirit's clothing. He had pale, ionic skin, sandy brown hair, and keen blue eyes. Spirit's eyes. But he didn't. His face didn't show any signs of Elantris' taint. He tossed a rag on the table, and she could see the brown stains on one side, as if he wanted them to believe he had simply wiped away his makeup to reveal a completely different face underneath. Telrii gasped. "Prince Raoden!" He choked out. "No, you died. They told me you were dead." Raoden. Sarene felt numb. She stared at the man, Spirit, wondering who he was, and if she had ever really known him. Spirit looked at the soldiers. "Would you dare slay the true king of Erelon?" I just thought that was so dramatic, and exciting.
That's what you've been waiting for the whole book, right?
Yes! And I believe this is the first time we see Raoden described as him before the Sheod with
Yeah, the
his...
second we meet him, he's a freaking monster, right?
Yeah, he's already gone. Now we know he had sandy brown hair. That's so cute. And I thought it was in the movie, this would be such a fun scene because we finally see the actor without all the like the Elantris
Prosthetics.
makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, the prosthetics. It'd be like when Casper becomes the real boy in the movie.
No. Horrible scene, horrible part.
Wait, why don't you like that scene?
It's stupid. You shouldn't see Casper as a human. That goes against the whole concept of Casper.
Justin, if he's
And that
played by...
He goes from a freaking handsome little teen boy to a freaking cartoon bubble-headed ghost. That's just stupid. I hate that scene. It ruins the whole movie. And the
He's
movie
played by
wasn't that
Devon
good to begin
Sawa,
with.
Justin.
I don't care who he's played by.
That's a
Casper
dream
should
cast.
never be a human. He should only be a ghost. I
Well,
stand
in
by
my
that.
head, he turned into someone that the girl would like, and so
That's
the
not how the
form.
life machine works.
It's not the life machine. It's a wish from her mom. So,
Was
Yeah.
it? Still,
Yep.
not how it works. I will, that is my hill I will die on. Casper never should have been a human in that movie.
This children's movie from the early mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
That this one scene where he became a boy until 10 o'clock. That's the worst part.
I stand by it.
Well, I loved it. I thought it was great.
I thought it was
magical.
fine.
See?
Well, you are all fools.
I didn't realize you stood so strongly and had such convictions about Casper, the friendly ghost.
I truly do, apparently.
I thought it was a nice modern Cinderella type story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, I thought it was really fun when Raoden came. It was done really perfectly. Much cooler than I imagined it would be, and much more dramatic. I thought it might be unsatisfying, but it was very satisfying.
You thought he'd just be like, yo, I'm Raoden, and that'd be it?
Yeah. And then people are going to be like, no, you're not, and he's going to have to prove it or something. But in here, everyone believed it, and it was very effective. So, and it was during a crisis, you know.
There are also pretty much 3 reveals of this almost the same thing in one chapter. First, there's the reveal to Sarene that Kaloo is Spirit. Then there's the semi-reveal that Spirit is Raoden. And then there's the full review that Spirit is Raoden. All in one chapter.
Which is a good way to make me think they're not going to do the full reveal in this chapter.
I'll go to mine. Mine will be Royal dying.
Mm.
Do not cry, my boy. Your return is blessed. You cannot save this tired old body, but you can save the kingdom. I will die in peace, knowing that you are here to protect it. You did a wonder with me, Royal. Without you to watch over me, I would have turned out like my father. No, boy. You're more like your mother from the start. Domai bless you.
Mm.
He died.
That last part wasn't how it was described in the book, right?
No, it was
he dies.
Much
and
more
then he dies.
much more dramatic and heartfelt. All right. So we have that, and then I guess next we'll go on to plugs. Before we go into the plugs, though, I just want to do a shout out to friend of the podcast, the Pod Fruit, which is a One Piece podcast. They're going through One Piece, reading 1 volume every 2 weeks. So if anybody wants to check that out, and if anybody out there has not read One Piece before, easy way to check it out. Because they're only on like volume 10, so a little bit to catch up, but then reading, it's a long story, but just reading 1 volume every 2 weeks, that's about 40 to 60 minutes of reading every 2 weeks. Very easy to go through the podcast, and One Piece is something that it's going to be much better than you'd expect. You think it's just going to be a silly pirate comic, but then it has to deal with stuff like genocide, slavery, racism, all that fun stuff.
And lots of punching.
That too. And you can also, a lot of places, especially like North America, with the Shonen Jump app, $3 a month, you can get every chapter. So it's also not that expensive to read. That's just my quick shout out. Well, not really quick. Once again, that was Pod Fruit, POD Fruit.
check them out.
But yeah, you two can give your plugs now.
If you'd like to see art and comic releases, you may go to @ProfanityBeaver on Instagram, X, and DeviantArt. And if you really, really like those arts and comics, you may go donate for as little as $1 to help support me creating them until that dollar dries up.
For me, you can see my art on Instagram, Peta_low. And for my cosplays, you can go to Mermaid Machete on Instagram, where I post cosplay pictures and outfits of the day. And see. Oh, Mermaid is coming up, so I will also be joining for that.
That's a mermaid a day for people who don't know.
Yeah, in the month of May.
Until she passes out from mermaid exhaustion.
All right. And then for the overall show stuff, on Key, a most ancient letter, formerly known as Twitter, you can at Cosmere Chron, CosmereChron, to follow us on there. By this point, I likely will have started putting just little previews, sentences in the middle of the week. You can go onto YouTube. We have all the podcast episodes go on there, so you can leave comments on each episode if you want. CosmereChronicles@gmail.com if you want to contact us. If you're somebody that has money, like say, we can use endorsements. White Castle, contact us. I like your food.
Yeah, you gave a shout out to White Castle.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out.
You give us sponsorship money, I will sell your product like nothing in the world.
Well, it depends. Mainly, I'm looking for White Castle. We need a White Castle sponsorship.
Especially
Why White Castle?
They're the most likely to.
White Castle is delicious.
You think Wendy's can afford us? No. White Castle.
I guess White Castle's kind of on theme since this is a fantasy.
You're reading too much into it now.
Oh, sorry.
It's what you crave. That's their logo, right?
Stop
Right.
spotting them already.
Or also, if you just want to send something talking about the podcast, you can also send that to the email. It does not have to be a sponsorship deal for White Castle. And on your different places, Spotify, Apple, any place where you can rate it, rate us with 5 stars, give a review, all that fun shit. All right. I think that's going to be about everything I have for the plugs. Any last words either of you want to throw in?
White Castle, it's what you crave.
We're not being paid yet. Now it's just free advertising for them.
You're not being paid. No one says I haven't been paid.
All right. Well, that's it for the show. We'll see you next week for the end of Elantris. Have fun, everyone.
But not too much fun.
Bye.